Hello everybody, welcome back to Reaper Minis TV and welcome to 2011. Hope the new year is starting off good for you, and we're going to start off with some large blister reviews. The first figure we're going to look at is the Brood Dragon, and this is from the Dark Heaven Legends line, but it's also usable in the Reptus army list for Warlord. And as you can see here, it's a very large blister, has many pieces in it. We'll crack it open. We'll spill everything out here on the table. You see we've got a couple of very large wings and then the rest of the pieces of the body that make up the dragon itself. Got legs, arms, a tail, and the top part of the head. Now with the body, head goes right on top, fits right into place without a problem. And it's got a little bit of a void and peg joint that you can see right here. So no issues with the head. Legs go into these large openings. There's a left leg. And then the right, well, that's an arm, not a leg. So here's the right leg. And then both of the arms or talons or upper legs or whatever you want to call them fit into place in a similar joint, similar opening to the legs. And then we're going to have the wings that are going to fit right into the back. Okay, so there's the right wing, and here we have the left wing. A little bit of extra metal. And with a model this size, you can expect a decent amount of cleaning, and this one has just that, a decent amount of cleaning that you'll need to do. There are lots of bits and pieces in here, but they're all fairly large size. Each piece is, except for the top of the head, is easily larger than a man. In some places they're larger than an ogre. So you've got great big pieces to work with. So cleaning, while it's going to take you a little while, is not going to be a real tough process because there's not lots of little intricate detail that you have to work around. Should be pretty easy. As far as assembly goes, all the pieces fit together really well. There's not really any problems putting it together. You might need little bits of putty in some of the joint places, like the arms and legs, but there's really not a whole lot that would even be necessary there. It does go together pretty easily. So for Reptus players in Warlord, you have the Broodmaster model. The rider for it is going to be released later this year. And then for just general fantasy players, you have a pretty unique looking dragon here. It does look a little bit different from your stereotypical dragons that you might see in a fantasy setting. It has a very much a reptilian look to it, and that fits in with the Reptus theme for Warlord. So good dragon here, pretty easy to put together. Does need a little bit of cleaning, but shouldn't be a problem for anybody who's put together large models before. Our next large blister is for the Kragmarr faction of Dwarves for Warlord. This is SKadi, the Goddess of the Dwarves, or she's also listed as a Half Goddess in the ReaperGames.com entry where you can build your army lists for Warlord. But anyway, this is a large blister, and we'll take a look at it here. We've got just three pieces. One of them is the 40mm square base that she sits on. So we got that. We've got the bulk of the model itself, and then just her left arm and weapon that she's carrying. Now, the weapon itself and the arm goes all the way up to the shoulder joint, basically. Lots of intricate detail in the bracelets and the bits of armor that she's wearing, and you can see more of that on the main figure itself. Really a lot of great detail here on the miniature. Lots of intricate little bits of carvings of the runes that are on her armor and in various places. Very, very cool looking model here. Assembly of the model is really going to consist of just cleaning it up and getting the left arm in place. It goes right into place easily. Really no issues there. I don't think you need to pin it. In addition to the axe-like weapon that she's carrying in her left hand, she has a spear in her right hand, and it's partially behind her back. If you're playing the Kragmarr Dwarves in Warlord, this is pretty much an automatic buy for you. It's an outstanding looking figure. It's a warlord, so a leader of the army, and it's just going to look awesome on the tabletop, surrounded by dwarves, which are easily less than half her size. She's about the size of a large ogre, not really giant sized, but half giant makes sense here. So you could use her as a player character. Maybe not so much in an ogre army. Ogres generally are big and ugly and all kind of warty and nasty looking, so she doesn't fit that. Now, for me, I think that Skadi would go very well here with Vanya, the Fire Giant Queen, and whether you painted them up as Fire Giantesses or Frost Giantesses, whichever. I think they would do great as a pair of giants in an encounter. Now, Skadi is going to be a little bit shorter than Vanya, she's probably 3/4 the size or height of Vanya, but I think the two of these together as a pair of giant sisters would make for a very cool encounter. Next up we have Sirithis, a Succubus Warrior, and she is from the Dark Heaven Legends line, but she's a little bit different than most of the other Dark Heaven Legends figures in that she comes with a 25mm slaughter base, and all other pretty much Dark Heaven Legends figures just come with the integrated base. So as we get into the blister here to take a look, you'll see that we have a bunch of different pieces, including the slaughter base. So we've got a very large set of wings there. We've got the base, we've got the wings here, we've got a cloak, the main figure itself, we've got a couple of swords and a couple of chain segments. Now the main figure itself is the bulk of the figure except for the wings. They take up a huge amount of space, or they're a very large piece also. But they're going to fit right into the back here. We'll see that in a second. You've got 2 swords, 1 for each hand, no other weapon options, but it would be easy to swap them out for something else if you wanted to. We have the 2 chains here. And then if you wanted to put a cloak on her instead of the wings, you could do that. These wings are just really large, nice one-piece set to the wings here. And they fit perfectly into place in the back. And then the cloak would also do the same. So if you just wanted to have her come jumping off the rocks and be more of a 2-weapon fighter kind of figure, you could use her for that. Now for me, she is going to make a perfect addition to my Vampire Counts army for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I'm going to use her as a winged vampire lord that swoops around the battlefield supporting other units, and the figure will fit perfectly onto a 20mm square base without even having to cut the casting tab at all. So, for me, great figure that I have a lot of use for. Alright, and back to normal-sized figures for a minute. We have a Half Orc Assassin from the Pathfinder line. This is a 2-part miniature where in his left hand he's carrying a pistol crossbow that's cast with the rest of the figure. It's attached down to the casting tab itself where that fits into the slaughter base. So you'll need to carefully clip that away, but that's going to go in his left hand. In his right hand he's got a short sword that's kind of behind his back a little bit. It says Half Orc Assassin on the package, and initially I thought that you could use him for just about any kind of assassin because he's wearing a mask, and I have a propensity to try to drop things into my Dark Elf army for Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now, he probably won't fit so well as a Dark Elf assassin. He's got the pointy ears that stick out from under his leather cap, which is fine, but then, since he is a half-orc, they did sculpt the bottom half of his jaw and face to be more squared, and he's got little pointed teeth that stick up out of his mouth, so really not going to be able to use him as a dark elf. But as a half-orc assassin, I think this is an awesome figure. He's got very cool armor on that just has daggers all over the place, and he's got a little bit of rope you can see over on his left-hand side that he's going to use for scaling buildings. His cape has a sense of motion to it. There's a couple of extra swords on his back. So a very capable rogue character here. I think he'd be awesome in that role, which is what he's intended for. A very cool, stylish-looking figure here. I like him a lot. Alright, everybody. Thanks for watching Reaper Minis TV, and we'll see you next time.